Donovan Mitchell is officially a Cleveland Cavalier. I think this effectively means that the 2022 offseason has come to a close, or at least the big major moves that are going to happen. There's obviously a few free agents that can still sign, but this is the big bomb that was kind of been waiting to drop. Obviously, with the KD thing kind of ending how I think everybody expected it to end. Obviously, a lot of people might have been hoping that, but I'm not even going to talk about that. But Donovan Mitchell, it's crazy to look at the league right now. I think what it really has done has made the Eastern Conference a lot more open, a lot more competitive, and I'm excited. Now, let's talk about the haul itself first. So, Donovan Mitchell has been traded for Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, and 3 unprotected first round picks and 2 pick swaps. Now, condolences to Knicks fans. Nah, but I think the initial Knicks offer was looking at it, I believe it was RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Mitchell Robinson, and 3 unprotected picks, and obviously that got turned down. If I'm the Knicks, obviously you feel a little short on the short end of the stick because obviously Donovan Mitchell's an all-star, generational talent damn near, but it's not that you needed him. I think it's more so that the gravity of his name is something that kind of made you want and need him, and as a result, the fact that you missed out on him stings a little bit more. But looking at the roster now, I think it's something that can really grow together, in my opinion, at least. I think, Quentin Grimes is a guy who's looking to step up a lot. Cam Reddish is a guy I still very much believe in. Jalen Brunson's going to finally get to be the guy. We'll see how that goes. And I think as much as Julius Randle's name has been dragged through the mud this past year, he's still a year removed from the best season of his career. Obviously, I don't think he's going to reach those heights again, but I think what's in place in New York has staying power in that it'll allow you to be competitive, not necessarily contending, but competitive in that you're going to be in the mix for the playoff and not the play-in. Because obviously, you have your big three, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and RJ Barrett, who just got an extension. And the fact that you missed on Donovan Mitchell, yeah, it sucks. But I think what you lost is obviously a generational player, but what you gained, I think, is the flexibility and kind of the ability to keep the core group together, or at least the core you've had for the past couple of years. And now you have your piece of Jalen Brunson adding to the mix. And I think you can really grow from that rather than kind of not really skipping the process, but kind of expediting it in a sense where you get a guy like Donovan Mitchell who obviously raises your ceiling really high, but because of that contract and now RJ's extension and all those things mixed in together with Julius Randle who got a fat bag, it's something that I think could have been a problem in the future. So, Knicks fans, it sucks right now, but evidently in the long run, I don't want to say it's going to be better because obviously Donovan Mitchell's a guy that I think 99.9% of teams would want, but, is what it is kind of thing. Now, for the Jazz, so I was just not really reading, but on Twitter, I saw this tweet that kind of laid out all the things they were able to get because obviously they traded Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell now, and Patrick Beverley, but for those 3 players, they were able to get Malik Beasley, Taylor Horn-Tucker, Stanley Johnson, Leandro Balmoro, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, a 2023 first round pick, 2 2025 first round picks, 2 2026 pick swaps, 2 2027 first round picks, a 28 pick swap, and a 2029 2 first rounders there. And then, man, that is a steal and a half now. Obviously, Danny Ainge is the man. He's the guy that'll wait out until he gets the deal that he wants. And the Cavs were obviously a team I don't think, not that anybody had them on their radar, but compared to the major teams, New York was obviously the big one, and all the other big suitors that were kind of pushed by the media and overall people's thoughts in terms of like whether it be like the agenda of him playing at home, whatever it may be. The Cavs are definitely a curveball, I'll say. But first of all, talking about the Jazz, I think this sets you guys up to really be in a Thunder-esque position, but you're lacking that Shea in the sense, the guy that can really be your number one. But obviously, with how tanking works now and just everybody kind of cheating the system in a way, I'll say, but you have a guy like Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson are coming to the next draft. Those are the guys that really have the potential to be, that staple, that face of the franchise kind of thing. And even then, once you get those guys in, you're gonna need to give them time to develop, and that's why you get a guy like Colin Sexton, a guy that I think can still really be very solid on a team, can still really contribute, can be a staple. And now you're having this team come together and letting them kind of tough it out for the season. And even though losing does suck, I think the unity that you're able to build through having that roster come together and do what they have to do what they can do, it's something that I think really sets a foundation for a team's future, and as a result, really sets you up to not necessarily success, but I think cohesion is something that's really underrated in the NBA. And with this roster that the Jazz are going to be toting, it's something that it's not pretty, but it's not ugly either. I think the main guy, I'm not really main guy, but I think Colin Sexton and Jared Vanderbilt, I think, are two of the guys that are really hoping to have a really good season. Now, obviously, the word good season is very subjective. It can mean a lot of things, but evidently, I think what I'm looking for, if I'm the Jazz, is, you know, losing as many games as possible. Nah, but realistically, obviously, that's going to be a big component of your season. But evidently, you want to see a guy like Colin Sexton really get back up to speed. What was he, a 24 point per game scorer at his peak so far? And he's still, what, 24, 25, not even 25, but still young is what I'm getting at. Jared Vanderbilt's another guy who really started to break out this year. He's a guy that is in the mold of that Dennis Rodman. I'm not going to give him that title still because I think, still has a long way to go, but what he's been able to do on the court, what he's showcased, and the fact that he doesn't really need the ball to be effective is something that I think all championship teams are built on. Not really built on, but they definitely have that in their roster and their makeup, and the Jazz have that. Now obviously the next few years are going to be a little rough, but you know, coming into the 2023 draft, if you are able to scoop up one of those two guys and they are what people say they are, what they're touted up to be, it can be a really quick turnaround. Otherwise, it's not all like down the shitter or whatever, but you're not really tied up in trying to be competitive because you're still trying to find like the guy to really raise your floor, really put you into that next echelon. But the roster they have right now is tight. Not only that, but you still have like really valuable pieces. I think you can get more young players for, more draft picks for, and Bojan Bogdanovic. He's obviously been linked to a bunch of teams like the Lakers, for example. Don't really know what you can get from them now, but that's just to like give out a team there. Jordan Clarkson, I think, is a guy that's really going to have some market value. I don't know if he'll necessarily be. I don't know if either of those two will be traded right now. The way I'm thinking right now, just based on how the market's been and just based on how like there's all this like turnaround, especially with how Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert have effectively kind of destroyed the market. Yeah, I think Jordan Clarkson and Bojan Bogdanovic will definitely be in the Jazz uniform opening night. I mean, Jordan Clarkson was kind of the poster boy for unveiling their new jersey or whatever, but I see these two kind of being like the trade deadline acquisitions that can really make or break a team's playoff run. Moving on, though, let's talk about the Cavs. Looking at this depth chart, it's nice. Let's just run through it real quick. So obviously at the 1, you got Darius Garland, Ricky Rubio when he does come back, and I think that's going to be a really important piece. He's kind of that vet that'll really cling the team together. Him and Kevin Love, I think, are really going to run that role really effectively. And I mean, looking at Ricky Rubio, how he was when he was on the Cavs before he did, tear his ACL, was looking very nice. Looked like a guy that I'm not gonna say like he showed the flashes of why he was picked over Steph Curry, but he was cooking. I'll say that much. And obviously you got guys like Raul Neto, who you also signed as like a nice little depth piece, and the point guard rotation looking very nice. Looking at the 2, you got Donovan Mitchell, Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, very nice. At the 3, I already said those. Yeah, it's going to be those guys who kind of float between the 2 and the 3 position. At your big men, though, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Kevin Love. As a Bucks fan, I got to show some love to Robin Lopez. I think this team is a team that, fuck it, I'll say it. They can definitely contend. They're definitely, I think, in the mix for the playoffs. Not the playoffs, I mean the chip. Because, Darius Garland is coming to a year where he averaged like 20 and 10. Donovan Mitchell is a guy that is one of the best playoff performers of all time when you look at points per game. Isaac Okoro is a guy who's still coming to his own. Evan Mobley is damn near looking like a generational talent. I mean, he kind of is, in my opinion. Jared Allen. I think if it wasn't for his injury, they definitely would have made the playoffs and would have gotten past the play and wouldn't even been in the play-in to begin with. Kevin Love is a guy who's had a bit of a resurgence after, I think it was like a couple years ago. There was that whole like lack of effort thing, but that's kind of completely out the window now because I think he's definitely going to show in that, he's a vet. There's a reason why he was in the top of the 6 man of the year voting, and his team's looking nice. Cedi Osman's still a solid guy, I think, and I'm a huge Karis LeVert fan. Now he's a hometown kid, obviously coming back into it. These past couple years haven't been very kind to him, and I think he has a chance to really carve out a role here. Now, how I imagine this team operating, I think obviously the starting five should be DG, obviously, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. Now, all right, sorry. So had a little like motorcycle run by my house real quick, but in discussing the 6 man role, I think you let Karis LeVert and Kevin Love kind of split that up. Uh, Karis LeVert's a bucket. Everybody knows that. Anybody that's ever watched basketball and has been paying attention to it like that knows that Karis LeVert's that dude when it comes to getting buckets. And so are Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. So for that reason, I think you let Isaac Okoro obviously start. That's what ESPN has here, and I think that's what's going to be most effective because Karis LeVert's a guy that really needs the ball. I'd say he's eye as a catch and shooter, but it's not necessarily like something that's fully in his bag as much as other things. But yeah, I think you let Karis LeVert and Kevin Love split up that sort of 6 man role. Karis LeVert, as soon as he steps on the floor, he's there to score. Once Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell need to like be a little more passive, get their breath back under them, that's when you let a guy like Karis LeVert go. That was a pause for effect there. Nah, but and then again, Kevin Love is a guy that had this little resurgence. That's nice to see, and I think it'll be a little bit more of that. Cedi Osman, I remember when people were kind of touting him as like not really the savior, but kind of next man up kind of thing. And even then, uh, Isaiah Mobley, Evan Mobley's like brother, obviously looked pretty solid, and I think he has a chance to kind of provide some nice depth concerning guys like Kevin Love are getting up there in age and won't be playing every game. Robin Lopez is another guy who I think can provide solid minutes here and there. Dean Wade, he's I. Lamar Steven, he's I. And just overall, the Cleveland Cavaliers have gone from kind of the Cinderella story to falling back down to earth a little bit to the realm of contention. It's been very much boop, 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 boop for them. And I'm excited. I think this makes the East much more competitive. It's not as like much of a, I don't want to say a 2 horse race, but evidently a lot of it is kind of based in, the Milwaukees of the world, the Bostons of the world, Philadelphia, and now you have a fourth kind of horse in that race, I'll say. Obviously, I'm probably forgetting some, but looking at those four, I think these are the four that are sort of solidified in that there's a team that's going to make some crazy, crazy noise. I think it's amongst those four. Atlanta can get some love in there too, but yeah, no, that's a conversation for another day. But again, Donovan Mitchell is a Cleveland Cavalier. I think that starting lineup is going to be something very nice. The two punch off the bench with Karis LeVert and Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio coming back. It's Believeland for sure. I'll say that much. But with that being said, hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, like, subscribe, all that stuff, whatever it may be, and have a good one.